You want to know what really gets under my skin, and I need to get over it because almost everybody asks the same question, the most common question from anybody interested. And I love it because they're interested and they value my opinion, but it is a pet peeve of mine when I get this question. I will die on the hill of it does not matter whatsoever what that bull or what that cow look like. You need to know the reason why, good or bad, the animal looks the way it does. You need to know its history so that you can make a completely informed decision. What is a beautiful day that the Lord has made. Hello and welcome to the Cattle Coach Show. Today I'd like to start out with a tiered system. This is an interactive question for you. We're going to go tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 on smells. Fall, country boy type smells. So where am I going with this? New cedar fiber in the show barn. That's nostalgic. It smells like winning. There's not much that a show kid or a show mom or dad can feel accomplished in the show barn. And when they put new cedar fiber down, just sit back and it just smells like glory. That's all I can say. Another option. Now, is that going to fall tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? Another option would be whenever you get a new pool, like an above ground pool, the new liner, the liner for the swimming pool. It smells like summer, smells like let's jump in, smells like fun. I can't get over it. I don't know where I'm going to put it. Is it tier 1? Are we going to have a bunch of tier 1 smells coming? What is the deal? Another option. Fall, dove season, the first shot of the shotgun and the smell of the gunpowder burning. It just gets me every time. It hits me in my feels. You know, hunting season's around the corner. You know, a cold front's around the corner. And you know, football season started. It just brings back all the good. So where are we going to rank them? Tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 for those three. I'm going to have to go. If you got to make me do it, tier 1, cedar fiber in the barn. Tier 2 is shooting the shotgun, the burnt gunpowder. And tier 3, but like a high level tier 3 for me, is a swimming pool liner. They're all good. They're all nostalgic. They all make you want to go do something fun. And I just can't get over it. So let's get into today's topic. Today's topic is one that I think is very, very important because not only do we always think about this, but it's it makes or breaks us. We have to be good at it, and that is breeding stock selection. Whether you're selecting an AI sire, buying a herd bull, or picking out a new donor or set of cows, how you evaluate those stock matters tremendously because they're going to be the ones that are making the offspring, that are the ones that make you money. Your business revolves around the offspring that these make, so we have to get this right. I take the same approach whether I'm looking at a bull, a herd sire, an AI sire, or a future donor prospect. And that approach is this. I will die on the hill of it does not matter whatsoever what that bull or what that cow look like. And you say, well, how is that possible? How does it not matter what they look like? We're out here selecting them, trying to make them the best they possibly can, and looks matter. The reason why I say that is simply because the offspring is all that matters. If the calf does not look like the sire or does not look like the dam, then what does it matter what they looked like? The offspring, the result is the calf, is the offspring. So don't put every bit of emphasis on what the sire or the dam physically looks like. It's how they reproduce. With that thought in mind, my biggest pet peeve, you want to know what really gets under my skin, and I need to get over it because almost everybody asks the same question whenever I'm at a sale or helping out or having a sale of my own. The most common question from anybody interested, and I love it because they're interested and they value my opinion, but it is a pet peeve of mine when I get this question: what's the best one there? I can look at them and say, this is the best looking one here, but is that the best one for you? Is that the best one for your cows? Is that the best one for your operation? Is that the one that's going to make the best one? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves, because if we find the best one, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It matters what that animal can make. Now, I get it. We want to start with quality. You breed good to good, you shouldn't get bad. I'm not saying to go pick out bad animals, but what I am saying is we really need to focus on how much emphasis we're putting on what that animal looks like. Because if we don't do more due diligence into why that animal looks how it does, that's when it gets tricky. And what do I mean by that? What type of feed is it on? Is it on feed at all, or is it on pasture? What's its age? Has it been sick recently? Has it been sick ever? Does it have any injuries? Has it had any injuries? If it's a bull, has it been on cows? Has it been breeding cows? If so, how many and how long ago? If it's a cow, when was the last time she calved? How many calves has she had? Is she bred right now, or is she open? All these are huge, monumental factors into how that animal is going to look. Perfect example, a lot of times whenever you go look through a set of cows and the show guy, the show steer mind says, ooh, what's that one? It looks different. If it's a cow, it probably skipped a calf last year. It's carrying a little extra flesh and has a little different look to it because of that. And I'll be the first to tell you, that's not a good reason for it to be looking good. So we have to know some background, do some due diligence on why they look the way they do. Here's another reason why. What if you look at that animal's parents and they are terrible? They're what you don't like. We've talked about in previous episodes before how whenever you are breeding pieces, genetics don't blend, they combine. So that animal could have combined and his genetics look good, but he could have pieces of bad stuff that he's going to pass on in the next generation. So let's look at their parents. Let's also look at their genetic defect status. If both parents don't look very good, the offspring, the resulting offspring does look good, and it's say a bull that you want to use, is it truly good, or does it carry a genetic defect and it's stealing some of those superpowers that are tied with carrying a genetic defect, and that's why it looks good? Is he TH carrier and a DS carrier, and he has more bone and muscle and hair than he would if he was clean? If you took that defect and its side effects away and it was just as raw, pure genetics for mama and daddy, would he still be good livestock? That's another factor to consider. So I implore you, whenever you are selecting your next bull to use, your next bull to buy, your next donor cow, or your next cow that you want to AI and just add to your program, there is so many questions that you need to be asking before you pull that trigger. I've had bulls that, man, I love to look at them, and their calves are very average, and you're not seeing the attributes in the calves that you love in this bull. And so one could chalk it up as he doesn't breed very good or breed very consistently. And there could be some truth in that. It could be extremely valid. But if we did our due diligence, did our homework, and had an open mind, because a lot of us get blinded by, hey, I saw that bull and he was good. I don't know why these calves aren't good. It must be my cows. Do some more due diligence. Whenever you saw him, was he fresh washed and fresh clipped and been on feed for the last 90 days? Had he ever been out on cows? If you say he's bad, did he just come off of cows? Did he just lose his baby teeth? Has he not been taken care of? Is he wormy? Did he have a hoof rot or a cracked hoof and he slipped and went downhill the last couple months? You need to know the reason why, good or bad, the animal looks the way it does. You need to know its history so that you can make a completely informed decision. You need to know its carrier status, because like we've talked about, those genetic defect carriers come with positive attributes. Are those attributes puffing up a really not good and average animal and making it level up? Or is it a good animal that has some extra bells and whistles? Also, you need to have in mind, what is the result? What do you want to make? Are you somebody who wants to make a high dollar show steer? You want to swing for the fence? Are you somebody who wants to make a consistent set of show calves and not have structure issues, not have throwaways? Are you somebody who wants, you don't care, I want it to be a steer or a female, I'm still building my operation, or I have a market for the females, it can be either or this has to be a female because the bulls are kind of worthless and I'm breeding to get a heifer base or a show heifer. Once you know these things, then you know where you can and can't go. You set up parameters for yourself in making your breeding decisions. So rather than asking someone at a sale, hey, which one is the best one? We really need to be asking, which one is the best one for me, or which one is the best one for this situation? And you need to know your situation. What am I trying to make? If I'm trying to make show heifers, or if I'm trying to get a good female base, do I want a female that's clubby on clubby on clubby, that's a how great thou art, monopoly, in God we trust? Maybe a phenomenal donor female to make terminal sires, but I doubt you're going to get the maternal traits you want if you're somebody who's making show heifers. So if I tell you that animal is the best one there, you might be disappointed because it didn't perform how you wanted it to, although it looked like it was the best one there. So you need to be very specific on what it is you're trying to make, so you can make an informed decision, or somebody helping you can make an informed decision on what's the best one for you. Y'all, if y'all pay attention to my operation at all, y'all know I have a love infatuation with the bull Nelson. He's the best breeding, most consistent bull I've used that can also swing for the fences and make a really high caliber one. So I go out and I try to find cows for him. And if I go to a sale and I say, man, that's the best cow here, that does not mean she's the best cow for that bull. If I'm shopping for a cow to breed specifically to this bull, that doesn't mean that's her. So I look for attributes that are complementary to him. I look for genetic defect statuses that are complementary to him. I'm looking for that perfect match. And also, I might be looking for something that is similar to a cow that I have that I know he works with, and I want to stick with that type. Or because if you have a lot of the same in your show calf set that you're trying to sell, that can be a little bit redundant and hard to sell to buyers when they're all matching. So we want to hit different breeds, different types and kinds, different styles, because not all buyers like the exact same thing. So do I have a attribute that I want, a type and kind that I want in my calf crop out of Nelson, but I don't have the type of cow to give me that? So I'll go out and try to select the best cow for him that has a few attributes I don't have in my current cow herd. It's not as easy as finding the best one, even though it's fun to go and sort through and judge for yourself. But I always am looking a generation, if not 2, 3, 4 ahead whenever I'm selecting for breeding stock, because at the end of the day, it's the next generation that matters. It has zero influence, impact, power on what that animal looks like if what I care about is selling her or his calves. So here's what I do whenever I'm trying to make a breeding decision, make a breeding stock or breeding animal purchase. I look at what I want. I kind of work the deal backwards. What am I trying to make? What is it that I need in my operation that I don't currently have? Or what do I have in my operation that I would just want more of because I know it works? Then I look at that sale catalog. Then I look at that AI sire list, and I find what is going to give me what I want to make, not just what looks the best in this group of animals. So as breeding season approaches and you're trying to find the perfect bull to match your cows, or you see a new donor prospect in an upcoming sale, do a little due diligence. Take a deeper dive into the background of why that animal looks that way. Try to see the animal in person, maybe a couple different times. And ideally, especially as AI sires, try to see them in a couple stages of life. We have the bull stud at Bonanza, and I get to see them whenever they're fresh pro mode and everybody's hot to trot on them and they're trying to really promote semen sales and they bring them in young and fresh and looking awesome. I get to see them when they come off their first set of cows and they're not looking so awesome. They lost their baby teeth. They got skinny. They worked themselves ragged. I get to watch them as they regain their weight and get fleshy and start looking good again. I also get to see them when maybe a guy made a bull purchase. He never got them collected. And we have 2 calf crops on the ground and he brings in a mature bull. Oftentimes, unfortunately, especially for the owners, we wait until that bull has good calves and he's hurt, and now we're nervous that we're going to lose him. So we then try to get him collected. So I see him injured as well. And that has really helped me seeing the same animals at different stages of life to get a true evaluation of what they really are. That way I'm not tricked on the back end whenever I see the resulting calves. I hope this information is valuable to you. I hope it finds you in a timely manner before you make big decisions this breeding season. You can always call and reach out, comment, subscribe, like, whatever you'd like to do to get any more information out of me on this. But thank you for tuning in. Hope it helps. Have a great one.